Good morning, everyone. I just wanted to review really quickly about describing the transformations of parent functions. So for my first function right over here, I have negative absolute value of x. Now, right off the bat, because I see those bars, those absolute value bars, I know that the parent function is the absolute value. This is the rule of the absolute value, and that when you graph it, it's going to be a shape. Sorry, it's going to be a V shape. So it's right over here. Now, for me to describe its transformation. So I see that there's a negative sign right in front of the absolute value of x. That's a hint to me that this must be a reflection over the x-axis. So that's the full description of this transformation. We're taking your graph, and then we're going to flip it right over this x-axis right over here. So we start from here to the gray, right? So that's how that function looks like. Now let's look at this one. We have f of x is equal to 1/12x. So here I see the x, but there's no absolute value bar. It's not being squared or anything. It's just a plain x. So the parent function right over here has to be the linear function. So it's f of x is equal to x, right? Now, the way you would read this is f of x is equal to 1/12 times x. 1/12x, I'm multiplying that 1/12. So it's either a reflection or a shrink or stretch, and it's a fraction, 1/12. So this would be a vertical shrink because it's a fraction and I'm multiplying by a factor of 1/12. Okay? All right, so that's how you would describe this one over here. Now let's move on to another example. So this one, it says f of x is equal to 3/4 times the absolute value of x. So I see the x again. The absolute value bars are there. So this must be the absolute value. And the rule is over here. Now, if I have to describe it, 34 is being multiplied, so I know it's going to either be a stretch or a shrink, right? But it's a whole number. So this part, it would be a vertical stretch. That means my graph is getting thinner by a factor of 34. Okay, and then let's move down to the bottom. So this one is reading f of x is equal to x squared plus 12. So I see the x squared. So that's telling me that my parent function, it must be that quadratic one. Oops. F of x is equal to x squared. And that's a quadratic. This one is going to be a U shape. And since I'm adding, right, if you're adding or subtracting, that means you have a translation. So since I'm adding the 12, the transformation over here is okay, and it's out. So I'm adding that 12, it's outside of x squared. So this must be a vertical, means it's going up or down, vertical translation up, because it's plus, by 12 units. And that's finished. Now let's look at this last one down here. This last view over here. So this one over here, it's f of x is equal to x squared minus 12. So again, you have that quadratic. And the minus 12 minus, still a translation. It's outside of the x squared, so it's a vertical translation. But it's a minus, so down by 12 units. Okay. Now let's move down to over here. All right, so this one, the parent function, I see an x and I see an exponent. So sometimes they won't be next to each other. But if you see in parentheses this x is being squared, right, because this square applies to both over here, this is letting you know that this is going to be a quadratic function again. Right? Now, for me to describe the motion over here, we have a minus. So it's either a so it's a translation. It's in parentheses, right? It's covered. So this would be a horizontal translation. Now it's minus, so left by 2 units, 12 units. Oh, sorry, it's minus 12. I meant to say it's going right. So it's a horizontal translation right by 12 units. Okay. And next over here, we have an x plus 12 squared, right? So again, that parent function is that quadratic. Oops, I don't know why I keep writing s. And this is going, and since it's plus, right, it has to be either, it's going to be a translation, and it's in parentheses, so it's still a horizontal translation. Plus 12 left by 12 units. Okay, so that's just a quick little review on all that we went over for transformations. You, um, you can use this when you're answering the quizzes.